Most blocks in Minecraft are for decoration, but some have functions that can be used in redstone builds. Of those blocks, some have shrunk redstone like shrink wrap, others are the entire foundation for a branch of redstone, some have even shrunk builds or complex wiring into a single block. There are so many blocks in Minecraft, but today I'm talking about 5 that changed Minecraft Redstone so much that it'll never be the same again, to see which one had the biggest impact. Hello SOAR participants, those running it, and people long after. You can call me Only.asking, and let's see what of these 5 blocks were the most influential for Redstone. The criteria I'll be basing my ranking on are as follows. 1. Creativity. Did this block enable new builds or ideas? Did it allow people to express ideas easier? 2. Usefulness. How often is this block used? Does it do something no other block can? And last but not least, 3. Impact. How much did it change Redstone? Were builds ever the same after it was added? Now with the criteria in place, and the stage set, let's move on to the video with one of the faces you all know and love. It's the Observer. Being added in 1.11 September 28th to 2016, I present to you the Observer. Though the second oldest of the 5 and relatively simple in concept, it changed Redstone irreversibly. The Observer detects a change in the state of the block or space in front of its face, then sends a 2-tick redstone pulse out of the other side after 2 ticks of delay, like this. Block state change refers to a change in the block or space in front of the Observer, such as a composter being filled, another Observer receiving an update, redstone being powered or unpowered, a block being placed or broken, an entity passing through a string, etc. The 2-tick redstone pulse is referring to a pulse of redstone, like a button being pressed, lasting only 2 ticks, or 1 redstone tick. Minecraft runs at 20 ticks per second, so this pulse only powers blocks for 1/10 of a second. This causes useful behavior like sticky pistons spitting out their block, meaning the piston retracts without pulling its block back. Though relatively simple, the Observer allows for very fast redstone clocks with 2 observers facing into each other, as well as compact wiring because it requires no support block and has a precise output. Before the Observer, a relatively simple 3x3 redstone piston door had a bounding box volume of 189 blocks, at 3x7x9 on August 10th, 2015, thanks to RabbitSMOR. The video is linked in the description. Now with the Observer as a new component, the smallest 3x3 piston door is a staggeringly small 56 blocks, done by Sacred Redstone, only 415 days after RabbitSMOR and 346 after Observers were added. Sacred's video is linked in the description. Going from 189 blocks to just 56 is a reduction of over 71% in less than a year with the Observer. Though there is a smaller one made by Ganymede, Doormaker, Sacred Redstone, and Brickcrafter, it uses entities, so we won't be discussing it here, though it's only 55 blocks. I'll link that video in the description, as well as their channels. Though this is only one example, the Observer made builds smaller, allowed for more precision, opened the door for new redstone builds, and truly changed how redstone builds functioned. So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's rank it. For creativity, I'll give it a 5. It didn't do anything too crazy when it comes to creativity, but didn't do nothing. For usefulness, this is an easy 10. People from beginner redstoners all the way up to experts use it because of how unique and useful it is. It's in almost any and every redstone build, so it deserves this. For impact, I'll give it a 9, because it didn't immediately revolutionize redstone, but when people got the hang of it, it did without a doubt. So overall, the Observer gets a 24, though the impact of the Observer is no more apparent than in Slimestone. In a branch like Slimestone, the Observer helped bring out the full potential of slime blocks, as when observers move, they also pulse, almost like detecting movement. This allowed for so many new developments and really pushed the entire section of redstone further, getting it unstuck, almost like it was stuck in slime. Next up is the block in the name, the one and only, the slime block. Introduced in 1.8 September 2nd of 2014, this block is even older than the Observer. Yippee! Yet some may argue even more important. Slimestone is a branch of redstone centered around using slime blocks to make big, moving machines, like doors or tanks or whatever you so please. Slime blocks are used for an array of things, some of which include flying machines, tunnel bores, world eaters, etc. This block does 3 main things, and only 1.5 of them realistically apply to redstone builds. Let me explain. The slime block negates fall damage, makes you bounce like a superpowered trampoline, and sticks to blocks on all sides like a sticky piston. The most useful of these 3 is being a movable block with 6 sticky sides, so one piston can move many blocks. When a piston pushes or pulls a slime block, all blocks attached to it that a piston can normally move along with it. This enables bigger flying machines, bigger doors, and bigger piston movements. Slime blocks are the Texas of redstone. The half is bouncing, as this may sometimes come in handy for some more build-specific situations, like a player launcher with slime blocks. Though moving multiple blocks with one piston is cool, people have found crazy ways to use slime blocks to make massive moving builds. Look at this build by Mumbo Jumbo, a huge slime-based moving house. Without slime blocks, something like this and his many other moving houses wouldn't be possible because you'd have to find some other crazy way to move all of those blocks. The video link is in the description, and so is his channel. Now let's rank it. For creativity, it's an easy 10. It enabled so many cool and fun builds you can never count them all. For usefulness, I'll give it a 6, because in its respective branch, it's a necessity, but outside of it, it doesn't see as much use. And finally, for impact, I'll give it an 8. As it didn't impact most areas of redstone, but it made a new one, which is just as, if not more impressive. Now with a final score of 24, though, it's tied with the observer. Will there be a tiebreaker, or will another block come out on top? We'll have to watch to the end to see. If you don't want slime to stick to something, most people will use blocks like a furnace, which pistons can't move. Though, what if you want to move that block as well? What block doesn't stick to slime and can be moved by a piston? Next up, and third on our list, is the honey block. The slime block's cousin, brother, I don't know how this works. Regardless, it's very similar to the slime block in that it also sticks to blocks, though it's much younger, being released in 1.15 on December 10th, 2019. Though honey blocks do many different things, like slime blocks, the most redstone applicable aspect of honey blocks is how they act like slime blocks without sticking to them. They have the ability to be moved by pistons but not stick to slime blocks, and instead stick to other blocks on all 6 of its sides. This is so important because pistons can only move 12 blocks, whether they're attached to honey, slime, or just in a line. It can never move more than 12 blocks. So when you make big machines, you need to separate them into sections, pushed by different pistons. Though putting 2 sections that use slime blocks next to each other would add their block count, not allowing either section to work because the pistons couldn't push. But honey solves this problem as you could alternate sections so they didn't interact with each other like that. You could break builds of whatever size into however many pieces and not have the different pieces mess with each other. The honey block is like no other. It's completely unique in its abilities and has helped people who love building moving houses, huge doors, and the like to build not only more complex and bigger versions, but also extend the possibilities of what they could do before. Without the honey blocks, Slimestone would have been limited in how far it could go, most likely never reaching its present-day potential. Honey enabled bigger, but it also enabled more compact and cleaner designs of pre-existing things, like this bridge by FedEx Gaming, link in the description to both the video and the channel as always. Though this bridge is pretty cool, after honey blocks were added, Mumbo once again took this new block and used it to make something very cool. By separating the bridge into sections, since honey blocks don't stick to slime blocks, he was able to make the bridge much cleaner, bigger, and give it a design unlike the other bridge. That video is also linked in the description. Now that we've discussed the honey block, let's rank it. For creativity, I'll give it a 7, since it allowed new and amazing builds like that bridge, or even super complex moving houses. For usefulness, I have to give it a 10. And you may be wondering, why would you do that? Well, it's because no other block can do what it does. It's the only one like it, so if you need its function, you need it. And for impact, I'll give it a 6, because yes, it did make a noticeable impact on the community, but it wasn't nearly as impactful as something like the Observer. So in total, the honey block score is 23, unfortunately not breaking the tie between slime blocks and observers. I wonder what could break the tie. What could be right on the mark? Almost like a bullseye. The target block was released in 1.16, June 23rd of 2020. It was an odd addition for a nether-focused update, but a welcome one nonetheless. This block is exactly as it appears and sounds. It's a target. You can shoot arrows at it or throw things like snowballs, and depending on how close you are to the center, a higher redstone signal will be outputted by the target. You may be thinking, so the target block just gave us archery ranges? How is that worth putting on this list? Well, that's not all it does. It has a hidden and very important use. It's the only solid block that can redirect redstone in the game. That may once again sound underwhelming, but it's incredibly useful. What I mean by a solid block is that a redstone signal can travel through it. If you power a target block, dirt, concrete, or another solid block, a redstone torch on the other side will turn off. Or if it's redstone dust, it'll power on. Things like that. Whereas a transparent block like glass, leaves, or redstone lamps do not have this ability. Because target blocks are able to supply a redstone signal, redstone dust automatically redirects into it, unlike something like pistons. But because they can carry a redstone signal and redirect redstone, they're invaluable as a redstone block for compacting builds or powering a component in an otherwise impossible angle. Like this setup, where these pistons won't power without it. Or this one, where the redstone dust won't point the way we need it to without the help of a target block. Though this is a small problem, it comes up so much and really had no good or practical solutions until the target block was introduced. Because of this, it was quite influential and did in fact make an impact, earning its spot on this list. So with that out of the way, let's rank it. For creativity, I was originally going to give it like a 3, because from this purely redirecting perspective, it wasn't a very creatively enabling block, but then I remembered its actual use. It's a target. Before this, we never had proper archery ranges, and this allowed for some very cool builds, where on a bullseye, you could have dispensers shoot fireworks or increase a counter for score. So I'll give it a solid 7 for filling a creative niche. For usefulness, it has to be a 9. Its solved issue is small, but it comes up so often, putting that score much lower would be a crime. And for impact, I'll give it a 5, because it didn't have the same shockwave on the community like the Observer or Slime blocks. This puts it in an uneasy 3rd place, as the tie is still waiting to be broken, with a final score of 21. Well, now I wonder if there's any other niches that need to be filled. Another small problem that comes up a lot. Maybe... light bulb. Wait, why is it copper? The copper bulb was released in 1.21 on June 13th of 2024, making it the youngest of the 5 blocks mentioned here. Like the target block, this one has a primary use, then a more useful secret use. As the name copper bulb may imply, this block acts like a light bulb. You flick a switch and it emits light. On the surface, it just seems like a clone of the redstone lamp. But if I push this button for the redstone lamp, it turns on, then off when the signal runs out. But if I do the same with the copper bulb, it turns on, then doesn't turn off, even after the signal runs out, acting like a toggle. This kind of toggling with redstone pulses is often called the T flip-flop. Before the copper bulb, it was much bigger, often involving sticky pistons, redstone blocks, etc., for what the copper bulb can do now so easily. This one-block T flip-flop is not only useful for more intuitive, secret, or better-looking inputs that would normally require a lever, but it's also useful for tight wiring. Using observer line to carry signals straight down is compact and easy, but observers always pulse and don't allow you to carry a constant signal like redstone dust. So if you want something compact and toggleable, but you're using tight wiring with an observer line, the copper bulb is invaluable. It's only a couple examples though. There are so many uses for it that you can find it in all sorts of builds. Purpler talks about how much he loves it and some uses for it in the video he made when it came out. I'll link it and his channel in the description. Though its addition is small, like the target block, the ability to fit what was once a much larger circuit into one block is something that will always be valuable for redstoners. Now with that, how does it match up against the other blocks in a ranking? For creativity, I'll give it a 5. It's a cool new block for building, but that's about it for creativity. For usefulness, I have to give it an 8. It fills its own niche and does something no other single block could, but gets used a little less than the target block. And for impact, I'm going to give it a 7, because it had a similar impact on the community to the target block, but it seemed to have some controversial updates. Ending the copper bulb off with a score of 20. Wait, then who's going to break the tie between slime blocks and the observer? Well, it's you. Leave a comment and tell me which one you think was more impactful and why. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. Now I have one last thing. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I can't wait to see what you guys think about the tie and what the SOAR officials think about my video. Have a nice day, and I hope you're doing well.